Hi, this is Don Natoli.
Hi, Don.
Hi, Director Natoli.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Tabitha. How's everybody?
Good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Thank you. Great.
We're just waiting on Director Harris, Kennedy, and Cerna. And Ronnie, I see your hand up, but I'm going to put it down because the meeting hasn't started yet. There's Director Harris. What? Chair Miller, it looks like we're just waiting on Director Kennedy and Director Cerna.
That's fine. It looks like we've hit the start time.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and get the meeting going if we have a quorum. Well, we can call roll
Recording
this
in
stuff.
progress.
Good evening and welcome to the February 28th, 2022 meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District Board of Directors. This is a virtual meeting and all speakers, the board and staff, please announce your name when you begin to speak. This meeting is being live streamed and the slide on the screen shows the information on how to join the webinar via Zoom. You can also call into the meeting at 253-215-8782 and the webinar access code is 881-3753-7448. If you are participating by phone, please push *9 to indicate a desire to comment during an item. If you are joining us online through Zoom, please push the raise hand button and be sure to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak and voluntarily state your name for the record. Thank you. With that, Tabitha, would you please call the roll?
I'm sorry, I was muted. Director Budge,
Here.
Director Harris,
Here.
Director Howell, Director Howell, I think you're muted.
I'm here.
Okay. Director Hume is absent. Director Jennings,
Here.
Director Kennedy, Director Natoli,
Here.
Director Chenier,
Here.
Director Cerna,
Here.
Director Valenzuela is absent, and Chair Miller.
Here.
And with that, we have a quorum at 8 votes. And this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. Today's meeting will air on Friday, March 4th at 2 p.m. and Sunday, March 6th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14 and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.net and is closed caption. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14.
Thank you, Tabitha. And with that, would you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
It's to the flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please call the first item.
So we have the consent calendar, items 2.1 to 2.7.
Excellent. Any director questions or items they wish to be pulled?
Chenier moves the consent.
I'll second.
All right. Is there any public comment on the consent items, Tabitha?
There's no email public comment, and at this time, I can open it up for public comment. You can press *9 if participating by phone, or raise your hand if participating through Zoom. And it looks like Ronnie Miranda has her hand up.
And Ronnie, is this with consent calendar items 2.1 through 2.7?
It looks like she put her hand down, or he put his
Yeah,
hand up.
we'll have public comment on item 6 if it's not for a particular consent calendar item. With that, any director comments? Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Director Budge,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Director Howell,
Yes.
Director Hume is absent, Director Jennings,
Yes.
Director Kennedy, Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Chenier,
Aye.
Director Cerna,
Aye.
Director Valenzuela is absent, and Chair Miller.
Yes.
And the consent calendar passes with 8 votes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda.
Do we have any written comments that,
We don't have any written comments. We do have a couple hands up.
okay, let's take those public comments.
Okay, so we have Jeffrey Tartagia.
Good evening, Jeffrey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My public comment is on twofold. I am still concerned about dealing with this, how many bus cancellations are taking place, and seeing that the riders understand what you mean when you have a bus cancellation. But the second thing is I went up to the I-80 location today and kind of was disturbed a bit that not only was the, should we say, elevator blocked off, but as getting out of the light rail with those distractions, I didn't realize that a plywood had been put right next to the cement on the sidewalk for dealing with your access point for the ramp. I ended up going on that and there's no support underneath that. Please get maintenance or somebody to observe and correct that and get a 4x4 or something underneath it, because it definitely suddenly sagged on me. Didn't throw me off my wheelchair, but it definitely sagged on me. And with the distraction of you having to look up and see what's going on with the chain link fence around and trying to read what signs are telling you where to go and where not to go, please get that corrected and handled. And again, Steve, I'm hoping that by next month, that at least for Route 1 and the other aspects of it, that the elevators will be fixed and operating and running. And we hear congratulations that we've actually got a running set of elevators that are functioning for the buses, and we're not having to try and figure out where is the shuttle bus to get moved from one side to the other. That's my public comment for not on the agenda. I am working through the bus scheduling thing, and I invite you to listen in on the MAC meeting on Thursday, because I believe there's going to be a report on the Wednesday meeting of the new proposed buses. And hopefully we'll hear about what bus retentions and other aspects are going on with the new system when the MAC meeting is supposedly Wednesday meeting, and whether that is electric buses or whatnot. An allude was made to that on Friday at the Valley Vision, that working at the electrification of going on. And it seems to me like we've got a lot more work to do to accommodate the many types of electric vehicles. The last time the gas was at $5, we had much improved ridership. This time, it doesn't seem to be doing too much more in the way of ridership, but I hope it works out better and we figure out how we can get more people to feel comfortable riding in public transportation. And with that, I will end my public comment for items that are not on your agenda. Thank you.
And thank you for your comments, Jeffrey. We'll see if we can take care of your concerns. And yes, I'm hopeful we have those elevators up and running very soon. Next speaker, please.
Okay, next we have Glenn Mandelkern. Glenn, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, hi, Glenn.
Okay, great. Yes, my name is Glenn Mandelkern. Can you see my video too? Okay, you can't see my, oh, well, some other day I'll thank you for the 23andMe. I received a bus sign over at 29th Street. So I'm grateful for that. I also want to say I'm very grateful that Tabitha Smith helped me out today, figuring out how and when to talk to you. The reason I'm speaking is because of a previous agenda item on last week, which was the 2.3 suggestion for the free ride flyers. It was proposed by Deborah Salinas, who I actually had the pleasure to meet at the Transit Academy, where I also met Henry Lee. Nice to see you again, Henry. The reason I'm bringing up the free ride flyers, first of all, I'm very grateful for the concept. It has helped me and other people explore areas of Sacramento and events throughout Folsom and South Sacramento. The proposal said that you wanted to authorize up to 10 free rides on bus and light rail. The key word that I'm focusing is on and. The thing that the reason I'm bringing this up is because some of the latest flyers only speak about light rail. Now, I've had conversations about light rail ridership with different people, and positively speaking, some people who live close to light rail like to use it. It's very convenient. They use it all the time. Others, however, who don't live close to light rail aren't exactly sure how to get to it. They think that they have to drive and park to a light rail station, but not all light rail stations have parking. I would like to therefore request that in order to increase ridership and also for consistency, to please ensure that all free ride flyers, the screenshots and the paper copy that people can print, to ensure that they all say bus and light rail. Like I said, the benefits of that are consistency and to increase ridership. And another benefit I've discovered is among fellow riders, when we see one another either showing our screenshots or showing a flyer on our way to an event, we talk about what we like about SAC-RT and also what we plan to do at the event and what other things we do on SAC-RT. So I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And hopefully we meet at 29th Street someday soon. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Mandelkern. Any other hands up there?
We have another comment, but I want to make sure that Director Kennedy is able to talk.
Yep, I'm good now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so next we have Ronnie Miranda.
Good evening. My name is Ronnie Miranda, and I've been a frequent rider with Sacramento RT and the bus system. I'm gonna be really honest. I am not happy with both services at all. Too many security light rail people are very rude, very disrespectful. I do not like the Smart Ride at all. It's very inconvenient for certain areas. There's a lot of people who are disabled, who are on wheelchairs. So it's been very inconvenient on my part. I'm always late for my connections. And also on Route 134, which I live like down the street from, I don't like the new schedule. The new schedule is very inconvenient. I'm planning to go to Sacramento State University in about 2 to 3 years. I'm a disabled passenger, and some of these routes need to be improved. I ride bus 67 and 68 going both directions from Midtown, from 29th and F to Cosumnes River College, Sacramento City College. On both directions, I go to the Art and Fair Mall. And the service, when I get to 29th and N Street, it seems like drivers always switch shifts, and I always miss my light rail connection on 29th Street. I honestly think these times need to be improved, and these drivers need to be more respectable. If you ask me to be respectable, I appreciate the same on both ends. So I'm going to continue to complain until this whole attitude with these drivers get improved. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you for your comments, Ms. Miranda. Any other speakers, Tabitha?
There's no other hands up.
All right, let's move on to the next item, please.
Next item we have is new business, item 7.1. It's an information item, SAC-RT Zero Emission Vehicle Transition Plan, Phase 2. Laura Ham and James Boyle are here to present this item.
Good evening, Chair Miller and directors and members of the public. Tonight, we'll be presenting to you Phase 2 of our Zero Emission Vehicle Transition Plan. As required by Caltrans as our funding agency for this effort, we are presenting the plan to you as an information item. There is no action required. The transition to zero emission vehicles has many components, and our team has been diligently planning to reach that transition goal and meet the California Air Resources Board requirements for a fully zero emission fleet. This is one more step towards getting to full implementation. But as soon as this plan is finalized, we'll be on to the next step, including things like planning for temporary infrastructure, identifying facilities, coordinating with our partners on our future power needs, and relentlessly pursuing grant funding. I'd like to introduce James Boyle, SACRT's Director of Planning, to present our efforts thus far and lay out the next steps for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Good evening, Chair Miller and members of the board and the public. James Boyle, I'm the Director of Planning, and I would like to take this opportunity to walk you through the work that we've been doing on our zero emission transition planning. So Adam, if you could go to the next slide, please. So quickly, just some background information. Laura touched on some of this, but I think we're all very familiar with the regulations from CARB and meeting all of the deadlines and things that they have laid out for all transit agencies in the state of California. Their requirements are basically that we all become 100% zero emission fleets by 2040. So we're working very diligently towards meeting that goal. The board adopted our CARB ICT rollout plan in October of 2020. We started our annual reporting to CARB last year in 2021. And we've also completed our first phase of the zero emission plan study, and that also included our ICT rollout plan. Next slide. So this phase of our planning network really started digging more into the details of maintenance facilities and also what the fleet would look like and how we would begin to transition our fleet to zero emission. So our report basically was laid out into 5 sections, and you can see I have those sections laid out here before you. There's introduction, gives you all the background and the history. And then we really started getting into the details about garage concepts and what that would look like and the necessary details for us to be able to have garages that would support zero emission vehicles and zero emission infrastructure. And then we also talk about the transition of our fleet, the construction schedules and procurement schedules. Cost and funding obviously is very important in this whole transition planning phase. And then we'll talk about findings and next steps at the end. Adam, next slide. So quickly, on the facilities planning side, this is a large undertaking, and we have a large fleet. And so what we really have to do is start thinking out into the future, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So our plan looked at spreading our fleet out. So what you'll see in our plan is the proposal of 3 new purpose-built zero-emission bus garages. We propose to have one in the north part of our service area, one in the southern part of our service area, and a smaller one out in the eastern part of our service area. And all of the garages would take into consideration battery electric buses, and 2 of the garages, the one in the north and the one in the south, would also take into consideration hydrogen fuel cell buses. So throughout the planning process and the transition process, we are also going to have to make sure that as we acquire new zero emission vehicles that we're able to charge them and store them properly. So we'll have a transition period where we'll have to go from transitioning from our CNG fleet, having those vehicles downtown, being able to charge, and then transition completely to zero emission by 2040. Next slide, Adam. So a table quickly here just kind of lays out for you the concepts of the east garage, the north garage, the south garage. The exact locations are still to be determined. So this was a very high level study and just looking at very general specific locations and not very specific sites. And so the functions of our garages, the east garage obviously would be much smaller. The north and south garages would be able to store vehicles, dispatch vehicles, and also have operations and maintenance capabilities. As I stated earlier, the east garage would, at this point, be battery electric only charging infrastructure, but both the north and south locations would be able to accommodate battery electric or fuel cell hydrogen. And then the numbers you see here are just minimum fleet capacity, and this is based on coordination and discussion with our bus operations folks and bus maintenance. So really trying to get a handle on our fleet now, our fleet in the future, and how we want to distribute our buses throughout our service area. And then we also discuss parking, of how we want to park and store the buses at all these sites as well. Next slide, Adam. So this is a kind of a conceptual plan, if you will, and this takes to consideration a possible site here in the Sacramento service, within our service area. And really what you can see is just a layout. And this kind of gives you an idea of, as we begin thinking about this transition to zero emission and the charging infrastructure and the growth of our fleet, how do we want to lay out our site plans, and how much property are we going to need, and what is, the maintenance building is going to look like, and how is everything going to fit together? So this is really what we focus a lot on in our plan. And we developed garage concepts for north sites and south sites and sites out in the east. So we have concepts for smaller sites and concepts for larger sites. So this here, what you're looking at, would be a much larger site. Adam, next slide. So the Zev Transition Schedule, what you see here in blue are the number of zero emission buses we have in our fleet. So you can see as we start going out in time and we get closer to that 2040 deadline that CARB has set for us, our goal is to be 100% zero emission by 2040. So you can see we really start ramping that up 2029, and then out to 2030 and 35, and then all zero emission fleet by 2040. Next slide. So I also wanted to lay out for you the cost. We go into a little bit more detail on this in the actual report itself, but I thought it was important just to kind of put some of the concepts of cost out for you to see. And as you can see, this is not going to be an inexpensive effort. It's actually quite expensive. And so it's going to be very important for us to make sure as we're planning our transition to zero emission that we're working with our regional partners and the state and our federal partners and trying to secure as much funding as we can to make the transition. So, not only purchasing all the new vehicles, but making sure that we have the property we need, we have the facilities we need, we have the charging infrastructure we need. There's just a lot of work still ahead of us, as Laura said earlier. So this really kind of gives you an idea, and it's not meant to be specific, spot on dollar amounts, but really kind of a range or an idea. And as you can see, the cost add up pretty quickly when we really sort of put pen to paper and start costing out what is this actually going to cost. Next slide, Adam. So the construction schedule, I thought this was important as well, and it really gives you a great understanding of the amount of work and the amount of coordination that has to take place. And so as you can see, we have laid out here just the different stages of our construction and how we need to make this transition happen. So again, looking at properties and acquiring properties, working with Smud. Smud is going to be a huge strategic partner with us in this effort. And so we've already started some of the initial conversations with Smud on power availability and what that's going to look like. And then, of course, once we have sites identified and funding secured and working with Smud, then we move on to design and construction. And so you can see by the timeline here, some of these things we can actually do concurrently, but we got to get moving on it because time will run out on us and we don't want to miss the CARB deadline. So you can see it's going to take a couple of years for us to get through these all these different stages here for us to make the transition to zero emission vehicles. Next slide, Adam. So next steps, once we get beyond this, we'll definitely need to start thinking about acquiring sites, and we need to start more coordination with SMUD and other agencies across our service area. And we will also want to continue to refine our conceptual drawings and get to 100% plans and a detailed master plan. And then we'll also need to start thinking about our service. How is our service going to be affected by relocations of maintenance and garages and storage of vehicles and the impacts of that cost as well. So, there's a lot of work that's still ahead of us. We have a great team at RT, and we've worked very closely with our bus operations and our grants department and engineering. And so you can see that we're working very diligently. And the good thing is I feel pretty confident that we're on the right path, but we will need to make sure that we're, meeting our deadlines and also, being aware of the CARB deadlines. And if we foresee any need to reach out to CARB and maybe file exemptions or get exemptions or extensions, we want to be doing that as well. So this is, a really large effort. And like I said, we have a great team at SAC-RT, and we're all working very hard on this. And we have great stakeholders such as Smud, and the Air Quality District is very supportive of our efforts as well. So we want to continue to, make sure we're reaching out to them, coordinating with them, and all kind of moving together in the same direction on this. So that's all for my presentation this evening, and I'm here to answer questions if you have any questions.
Thanks, James. This means you can't leave till 2040. Just kidding.
Well, we have a lot of work ahead of us. I'm not going to lie.
I know, but great presentation. Thank you, Laura. Any questions or comments from directors at this time? Well, I'm not seeing any hands up. So any public comment there, Tabitha?
I have 2 emailed public comments, and it looks like Jeff Tartagia has his hand up.
Okay, let's hear the 2 written comments, please.
Okay, so the first email is from Jaime Lemus, Division Manager, Transportation and Climate Change. The Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District supports SAC-RT on their zero emission bus phase 2 plan. For the last 4 years, Smud, SAC-RT, SACOG, and the Sac Metro Air District have been working together to support each other's priorities and advance our region's climate goals. Since CARB's adoption of the innovative clean transit regulation, the Sac Metro Air District has been working to financially support SAC-RT's fleet transition to zero emission. Sacramento is growing into an increasingly important regional center for jobs, housing, and entertainment, and it is vital that the region's primary transit operator move forward with this transition. The vehicle transition must also consider fueling infrastructure, which makes this transition more challenging and more expensive. The 3 new proposed Zev garages are part of a critical infrastructure component for the transition of the SAC-RT fleet to full zero emission and showcase SAC-RT's commitment to greenhouse gas reductions. This will help improve the region's air quality, reduce greenhouse gas and other harmful emissions, improve the health of residents and visitors, and demonstrate the effectiveness of clean transportation to the public. The Sac Metro Air District is committed and stands side by side with our partner SAC-RT to transform the entire fleet to zero emission and meet our climate goals. The next comment is from Steve Johns from Smud, and he's the Regional and Local Government Affairs Manager and 59th Street Reuse Project Lead. Dear Chair Miller and Directors, Smud is pleased to support Sacramento Regional Transit in its consideration of its zero emission vehicle transition plan, phase 2. Smud's goal to eliminate carbon emissions from our power supply by 2030 is more ambitious than already aggressive state mandates and is ahead of virtually all other utilities in the United States. We have long been committed to the advancement of electric transportation, and our 2030 zero carbon plan continues to prioritize electrification of all modes of transportation, including transit fleets. SMUD's collaboration with Sacramento Regional Transit, Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District, and Sacramento Area Council of Governments resulted in the ZEV Regional Strategy, which demonstrates our region's commitment to curbing transportation emissions in order to address health, climate, and mobility concerns. SMUD looks forward to continuing our collaborative relationship with Sacramento Regional Transit in support of its transition to a full fleet of zero emission vehicles. Thank you for your leadership in this area. Very truly yours, Steve.
Both good comments. Jeffrey, next.
Yeah, I was able to listen in the start of this on Friday's Valley Vision. And as far as I know, with fuel cells, only the 76 station has got fuel cells currently going on. I don't know, again, in the weeds, but are you planning on natural gas, or are you planning this all intending with electrification? Because that requires more than 500 watts of power to be sustainable. And how many of the 240 volt fast chargers, like what may be going into the power in location, are going to be needed and provided for? And does this mean you're going to be making micro transit hubs to provide power, or are you just going to use Elk Grove, McClellan, and other locations to be charging centers? That's just a quick couple of questions. And is these new, since our, should we say, gas is going out of the, for natural gas on our next level of fleet buses, are we going to go for electrification now with those? Just curious, don't know, and would like to be given a better insight than just the overview. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment?
I don't see any other hands up.
Okay, and I don't see any directors' hands up. So with that, let's move on to the next item, please.
The next item is item 8.1, the general manager's report.
Good evening, Chair Mina, members of the board, and the public. I want to begin by sharing bittersweet news. After nearly 20 years with SACRT, rising up through the ranks, I'm sorry to say, to inform you that our CFO, Brent Berninger, will be leaving us for his lifelong dream job. Brent has been an instrumental part of the SACRT family, and his diligent work and exceptional leadership have impacted so many in our community. When I first come to SACRT 6 years ago, I started to work closely with Brent. At that time, Brent was our accounting director, and then promoted to CFO to successfully turn around and transform SACRT's physical health. Since he took over the role as CFO, he has been instrumental in the successful implementation of many sound financial and business initiatives. The list of SACRT's accomplishments he played a critical role is long, so I will not go through them all, but I just want to highlight some programs and projects Brent helped to lead. First, he worked closely with water jurisdictions and school districts in the county to secure fundings to launch the Right-Free RT program in early 2019, the nation's first unrestricted fare-free use program system-wide. Then he helped to secure several $100 million for our light rail modernization program from state and federal sources, and to grow SACRT's operating reserves by more than $30 million over 5 years, and also with another $30 million cash in our bank. So we have $60 million in our bank. He led to implement the first fare reduction in the agency's 50 years history with the board approval, certainly 3-4 years ago. And also Brent helped to identify funds to launch the nation's largest microtransit program by closely working with STA and other partners. I want to say one more thing. When we start to build our light rail lines 30 years ago, 35 years ago, SACRT promised to the community we're going to start some TODs to build some commercial and residential housing units along with other, service. However, we did not really do much, prior after 25 years later. And Brandon really, led the agency to significantly accelerate SACRT's TOD and the real estate mission. So far, we have, our developers have built close to 1,000 housing units in 4 or 5 TOD projects around our light rail stations. And there's so much more I could go on. So Brent, I just want to thank you for your years of diligent service with SACRT. And I wish you the best of luck for your new endeavor, which is your dream jobs. And you will be greatly missed. And in the meantime, I want to thank Jamie Adelman, our Assistant VP of Finance, CFO, for her willingness to step up to take the acting CFO role. Jamie actually has been taking lots of other system-wide, agency-wide initiatives and roles. I will finish my other couple points to let Brent and Jamie and maybe some board members will share some comments. Just give me 1 second. The next, I want to share that with temperatures dropping below freezing some days in the last 2 weeks, SACRT again stepped up to assist with shuttle transportation to and from warming centers for city and county homeless population. Extreme weather events are becoming more and more frequent, and we as a community need to be prepared. Moving forward, I hope that SACRT and other jurisdictions can coordinate in advance of extreme weather events in order to best serve the most vulnerable in our community. With many experiencing homelessness in our region, we know there is a strong need for reliable transportation service to cooling or warming shelters during peak summer and winter months. With more advanced notice and planning, I believe we can make this much more consistent and useful service. Recently, we got a surprise notice. We have to do some emergency planning and cancel some trips. Another topic is, as always, at our previous board meetings, I have been sharing regular updates related to matters and its impact on staffing. Over the last few weeks, I'm pleased to report that we have seen a significant decline in COVID cases, and the bus trip cancellations dropped down significantly as a result. And I'm hopeful the surge that went through our community earlier this year or later last year is behind us. And while the county has lifted its mask mandate, we are reminding all of our passengers that the Federal Transportation Security Administration requires all passengers on public transportation to wear a mask through Friday, March 18th. My final update is about our paratransit. Early this year, we presented an update on our SACRT Go surveys and financial performance. It was requested by some board members that we perform an ADA paratransit peer cost analysis of other agencies for operating the service. Jamie or Brent will make one last presentation, or Brandon will make one last presentation. If Brandon will make this, or Jamie, can do that too. But before they do, I would like to share an email from we received from a frequent SACRT Go rider who is not shy about sharing her critical opinions about our service, but always helped us tremendously. You can say Mrs. Margie Donovan's quote on the screen. I just want to read one section here. I want to thank you and your team for fixing all the problems in Folsom. They have been absolutely low late rides that I know of since RT has assigned drivers specifically to Folsom, which we did about 2 months ago. I personally want to thank you for taking the issue seriously enough to put the time in to remedy them. Thanks. Then, Brent, if you want to share some comments, wishes, it's your time. And then after that, our board members, and Jamie can start to do the presentation.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chair Miller and members of the board. I want to start out saying I want to thank you all for the opportunities that I've had at SAC-RT. Henry, when you came here, you've given me lots of those opportunities. I've seen all the different areas of not just the traditional finance. I got real estate, I had procurement, HR, all these different areas, and I don't think I would have had that anywhere else. So I want to thank you for that. And board members, I actually want to thank each one of you. I know I've worked with each one of you, but I've also worked with your staff, and I think you guys are so dedicated to public transit. I think that shows at these meetings. There's good engagement, and I think people enjoy coming to these meetings and hearing about public transit. And I could say, you know, it's nice to see. I mean, the public transit provides clean air for everyone. I think that's great for an area that has a lot of smog and a lot of poor air quality. It's really good that we support public transit. And then I do want to thank all the top executives that are on here right now. Maybe if you can all turn on your cameras. I just want to see you guys, Ichi, Shelly, Olga. Where are you guys? There you go. Hi, Olga. Hi. And Carmen, Laura, thank you guys. And Lisa, there, I see you guys. Thank you guys. This team is top. They are fully dedicated. You know, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we all have our phones, and, you know, if there's an event that occurs, they are all on it. They know this, they're on their weekends. Yeah, no, it's just, I just want you to know they're totally dedicated, and so dedicated. I want to give out a special, you know, take some time off, get some enjoyment. There's a little plug for you. I'm sure, I don't know if Henry likes me to say that one, but I do think that they all work so hard. I do think they do need a little bit of time to kind of enjoy themselves, because that's what life is about, right? It's about finding some good memories with your families and whatnot. And then what's really important to me too is the staff I work with. I've really enjoyed everyone in the department. And just to name out a couple areas, there's the finance group that goes to finance members, the revenue team. Those are the people that are working day in and day out collecting cash. The procurement team that's making all the buses getting purchased and whatnot. The pension group that's keeping those funds safe and getting good investments. The grants and budget, you guys know what you do. You bring in the money and you make sure it's not it's spent correctly and it's done well. The general accounting group, you got your payroll, your AR, your AP, and your real estate group. And if I'm missing one, Jamie will catch it in just a second. And then I do want to make one more comment about the immediate
risk.
Oh, yeah, risk. Yeah, risk and litigation. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Whoops. Thank you. Thank you, Olga. And then I want to give a special thanks to the immediate staff that I work with. We have meetings every week or 2 weeks, mostly every 2 weeks. And I think it's a good form of communication where we just update each other. It's a good open forum where people can talk, people can share ideas. We're all trying to solve the problem because not one of us has the right answer, but we do it collectively. And it actually, it's not just, it's not just your highest level people that can come up with these great ideas. So I just want you guys to know this. So I want to name a couple people. Jamie Adelman, and I think many of you have seen her on the retirement board, and her and I have been working together for 9 years, and she's been by my side the entire time. So I have full faith and confidence in her. She's done an excellent job. She's, worked with us through the bond issue, the refinancing. She's worked with me with the banks, with the rating agencies. She's totally competent and totally available and dedicated to this job. And I really believe she's going to do an excellent job. There's Eric Wrights on the grant side, Maria Whitworth on the program analyst, Roxana Borgos. I've got Artak, and I'm going to say his last name, Paskavichian. And sorry if I botched it a little bit there, but did I say Tracy? I don't know if I said Tracy's name, but if you guys, Canfield, she's in our real estate. I just want to thank you guys all. I think it's been a good time here, and I will be sad to say goodbye to everybody, but I'm also looking forward to something new too now, So I think that was it. Thank you.
Brent, thank you very much. You mentioned clean air. You've been a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
I'm very sad you're leaving us, but I'm very happy that you found your dream job.
Yeah.
And for me, the most important things is you got us into the black. You brought our finances around, and it was important to me to see us grow our reserves. So we had that shock absorber for the times when expenses exceeded our revenues and we were waiting for money. These kind of things really helped this agency, and I appreciate it. And again, thank you and wish you well on your next endeavor and all your endeavors for that matter. And with that, I do have Directors Chenier, Harris, Cerna, and Jennings lined up. Director Chenier.
Thank you, Chair. Brent, I'm really sorry to see you go. I've been on the board a little over 11 years here. It's been a real roller coaster. As you know, I feel like we started at the bottom and slowly pushed our way up, and then it's been the last few years, and particularly since Henry's here, has been the ride going down. But as Steve just said, you've really helped bring us from a place where we were spiraling, I think, into bankruptcy, and turn that around to the point where we're not only in the black annually and structurally, but we have a very healthy reserve, and you deserve a lot of credit for that. And as I've watched over the last 11 years, I don't think you've ever said no. You've become, well, you were, and even more so, have become a real problem solver, taking on the hard issues, whatever they are, and really helping us figure it out for the benefit of both RT and then the jurisdictions. So I know my colleagues want to say a few things here, but I just wish you well. I'm jealous of your retirement. I got 4 years here, but I hope you enjoy it. That's what it's all about, and you've totally earned it. And the success that RT has had in the last 5 to 6 years here, the awards that we've won, you've played a large part in that. So I just want to say thank you. Appreciate it. I think you've been a great public servant, and again, wish you well and have fun.
Thank you, Director Chenier. And I'm really proud that the students initiative that you talked about so long ago, that we were saying, I don't know how we can do it. I'm so glad we did it, and it's paid off. Like you said, it's nice. It's nice to see, I guess. And that as someone who rode, so I grew up in the Bay Area and rode Sam Trans, and 20 cents a ride, back and forth to school. So I took the bus, almost every day. So
no, it's made a large difference for our young people and for their families. So thank you, and you played a big role in that as well.
Thank you.
Victor Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Miller. Hey, Brent, ditto everything Jay said, but it seems to me here at RT, the board has to take a vote to allow you to leave, and I don't think you're going to make out real well on that vote. I'm a definite no. There's another issue here too, that if you're going to your dream job, that means the RT isn't your dream job. So I'm wondering, if you want us to vote to allow you to leave, we at least get to know what your dream job is.
Sure. Well, I would say, I think finding your dream job is one where you have a lot of flexibility. It's close to your house. So Carrie, I don't know if you're on right now. It's in Folsom, so I can actually ride my bike to work. It's working in accounting, doing reviews, compilations, but something interesting is tax work, and it's a small boutique tax firm, and kind of full circle, the person, one of my first job at a college, I worked with Angie, who's the partner there, And we've kept in contact all these years, and she now has her own firm and she's grown it. And the idea of that, the experience that I got in this real estate area has been really interesting. And I thought to myself, I mean, just to share a little bit, it was kind of it's soul searching. What do I want to do? And I thought maybe real estate's an area I want, but I don't have some of that background in being a broker or commercial. So I thought I could kind of blend the accounting as well with the real estate, and I could do real estate taxes. And I think I could be kind of getting the best of both worlds, which is what I enjoy doing. Yeah.
Well, you know, we all wish you the best. You have been a major player in RT's rise, you know, out of the ashes, and can't thank you enough. Plus, you're just a heck of a nice guy and great to work with. So all kidding aside, I'm a yes vote. You can go, but I wish you all the best. Have a great time, and we'll be thinking of you.
Thank you, Director Harris. Yeah.
Director Cerna?
Thanks, Chair Miller. Well, I certainly wasn't going to let just the City of Sac representatives on this board have the last say in terms of your well-deserved accolades. On behalf of the county as well, we're sad to see you go, Brent. I agree with many of all of the mentioned so far about the various projects and the condition of the district and your instrumental role in turning it around. Certainly feel the same way as others have referenced. But I thought I'd say something a little bit more along the lines of just kind of the fact that we as electeds, local electeds, you know, we deal with so many people. We deal with so many different staffs. I mean, the last count, you know, I'm technically on 30 plus boards and commissions and have been since 2010. And I know many of my colleagues are in no different situation. So we're not only just counting on professional public servants that know their subject matter and that we rely on, you know, constantly to advise us and to give us counsel about the important responsibilities we hold to adopt and implement important public policy measures and be thoughtful about resource allocation. But we work with a lot of different personalities, and sometimes those personalities, you know, can be, you know, interesting. They can be stressful at times. But I gotta say, of all the folks I've had the opportunity to work with in a professional capacity as an elected member of the Board of Supervisors and elected member of this district board, for whatever reason and by whatever means, you have been able to sustain this incredible buoyancy in your positive outlook that is pretty infectious. And I know that you'll take that to your next professional adventure, and I know it'll serve you well. And it's been something that has been very refreshing at times, especially at the end of a long day, and we have these board meetings when we do, and you know, to see your smiling face and to hear you give us our you know, occasional board reports the way you do has always been welcomed by this board member, and I think others as well. So a lot to be said for your personal disposition in life, and you have certainly impressed upon me how important it is to be nice and decent to one another. So thank you, Brent.
Thank you. That was really nice, Director Cerna. Thank you for that.
Director Jennings, followed by Director Hell.
Thank you very much, Brent. I want to say ditto to everything that's been said tonight, and I don't want to repeat it. I think I'm on the same page as all of my colleagues, but especially Supervisor Cerna just really expressed what I feel about you and how you handle your business, how you walk into a room, how you give credit to everybody else. And that's what you started off tonight, is giving credit to everybody else, right? And And I want to make sure you know that we want to give credit to you for everything that you've done for this organization and for the person that you are. If I were drafting, whether it be basketball or football, you absolutely would be a first round draft pick. And not only a first round draft pick, you would be the top pick, because not only would you be able to come in and perform based on what you do as an individual, you would be infectious to every single person that you touch, just as you are. And so you would change the whole altitude of the team because you touched each and every one of them with that incredible smile, that infectious style, and that smile that just opens up the whole room. And I just want to let you know that all of us see that every single time we interact with you. And so wherever you're going, I know you're going to take that with you, and wherever you're going is going to be a better place because you are there. If I could bring you on my team tomorrow in any capacity, if I could make my organization, what I do, your dream job, there would be no interviews. You would have the job hand down, ready to go. And I just want to let you know that. So if there's any room to change your mind, to not ride your bike to Folsom, if there's any opportunity for you to come on my team where together everyone achieves more, if there's any opportunity, I just want to let you know you're a first round draft pick and I draft you in a heartbeat.
Thank you so much. And you know what? I just want to say, not only for those comments you said, but thank you for those tips when we played golf. Because I don't know if you remember, but I'm telling you, like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm not a good golfer. And you're like, I'm not going to do a lot, but I'm just going to show you a couple moves. And it was like magic. So I know you're an athlete and you're an amazing athlete. And yeah, I'd love to be on your team. I'm probably not as coordinated in some of these sports, but hey, I will cheer on that team.
No question. I know you will. You always have. Yeah. There's no question. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Director Jennings.
Well said, Rick. And now from the city of Folsom, a rebuttal.
It's not a rebuttal, and I'm going to be quick because it's loud where I am. But Brent, I'm really, really, really going to miss you on the RT team. But the fact that you're staying on Team Folsom, hip, hip, hooray for me.
Yes.
So I hope to see you soon.
I'll see you.
Good luck in your next adventure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, and Henry, thank you for solving all problems in Folsom, according to Margie Donovan. I'll be sure to let Elaine know.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, this is Director Tolle. I want to get in the queue.
Yes, go ahead, Don.
Okay. Well, Brett, if you haven't already heard enough, I'll just add a little more to it all. Certainly, my colleagues have said it well, and I think the sincerity in the comments, but certainly the praise for you for your, talent, certainly your addition to the collective brain trust and good work at RT has been exemplary, and I think you can go to your dream job knowing obviously that you've had a large impact not only on the regional transit organization, but certainly to people in general, because as noted in some of your comments, the service that we provide to the traveling public and all the various things that regional transit is involved in that contribute to the betterment of the community as a whole certainly are due in great part to the dedicated staff and the leadership, certainly the financial leadership that you provided, and I think the innovation and creativity that Henry and the whole team have brought to problem solving, to service improvements, and to just the general direction that RT is headed really are a credit to you and to all those that you've acknowledged, and I'm sure others that are listening this evening who've been a part of the conversation and discussion. But I know I've had a chance to work with you during your entire tenure with the district, and I'm probably one of the few that's been there at least in my capacity as a member of the board, along that ride. But I really have enjoyed working with you, and recalling some of the early years, I know I pressed you with some tough questions. You never shrunk, from answering, and you were always. One thing I appreciate, I remember this, that if you didn't know the answer, you'd get back, and I remember sometimes I'd have the answer before got back to the office or the next morning because you were very conscientious in your approach and certainly in attempting to, be responsive, not just attempting, but being responsive to questions, whether from the public or from a board member or from anyone else. And I really enjoyed working with you. Certainly want to wish you well. And I know that the RT team is going to be down a member, and I'm sure Henry may lose a little sleep, but we've got obviously folks that have mentored under you who can rise to the occasion. And as a member of this team, wish you well as you depart to do things that will certainly bring professional satisfaction to you and rewards in many different ways. But you've been a real asset, and I know that our organization, this community, is better for the contributions you've made, and give you credit where credit is due. And just wish you Godspeed in your work that lies ahead, and wish you and your family all the best, Brett. And I'm sure you won't be a stranger, and we'll run into you from time to time. And but just take great pride in all that you've been able to be a part of and contributed to, and let the glow shine a little bit, and then you'll be on to the next adventure in life. But all the best to you, and I know you'll continue to do great things in our community. Good luck to you, Brett.
Thank you, Director Natoli. And just want to say something back to you is, I remember, we were on the retirement board early on, and actually on the regular board too. I always appreciated that you actually always recognized the finance group for getting back then what we called the CAFR done, and all the hard work, and that didn't go unnoticed. I always knew you were there to comment on that, and so thank you, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you as well.
Thanks, Brett. Take care.
Yeah.
Any other directors? Thank you so much, Brent, and we do wish you well.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
All right, and I see Linda's everybody's applauding, but with their.
Thank you, Linda.
All right, let's move on to Henry. Are you done?
Yes, Jamie has a short presentation to share with the board.
Okay.
Sure,
Go ahead, Jamie.
Thank you, Chair Miller and members of the board. Here's the presentation is up, but it looks like I've got big shoes to fill, and not just because Brent is 6'3", 6'4". It really is because of his work over the last 20 years, and I look forward to working with the board, and just appreciative of the opportunity that Brent has given me throughout the years, and then again here as he moves on to his next adventure. So I'll go back to the presentation, please. Thank you, Adam. And I'll just go ahead and jump right into slide 2. So tonight I will be reviewing the peer comparison that we completed regarding the ADA paratransit service cost per trip. To perform this analysis, we obtained the FY20 National Transit Database, NTD, information, and we used that as our base for everything that we did. From there, we then determined our peers by comparing data for transit agencies with greater than 225,000 trips provided in FY20. We did exclude one agency called Access Services. They are an agency that serves multiple transit agencies in the greater Los Angeles area, and they provide more zone-based rides rather than single-seat rides. This is a material difference from the peer group, and for that reason, we did exclude them from our peer analysis. The next thing we did was to compare the FY21 cost per trip. We did escalate the FY20 NTD data that we received, and we escalated that by 6.01%. That percentage is representative of the West Region CPI table, all items, for the time period June 2020 to June 2021. We wanted to ensure that we used a reasonable and consistent escalation factor when reviewing all the transit agencies' data. And then finally, we obtained the FY21 trips provided by each agency from the NTD December adjusted data report. This report is a compilation of monthly ridership information reported to NTD by each agency. Next slide, please. So here on this slide, we're presenting the results of the cost per trip for all of the peer agencies with the previously mentioned assumptions applied. Excuse me. The FY21 estimated operating cost column was calculated by taking the FY20 NTD data and increasing it by the 6.01% for CPI. The FY21 trips were obtained directly from the NTD report, and the FY21 cost per trip was calculated by dividing the estimated operating costs by the trips provided. And then you can see here that the cost per trip is significantly higher than we're used to seeing for this type of service. We would normally see somewhere between like the 40 and 60-ish dollar range. For that reason, the reason for that increased cost is directly related to the decline in ridership. And we'll go over it more on the next slide, please. This analysis illustrates, again, that the drop in ridership when applied to a consistent operating cost will result in a higher cost per trip. Here we're showing that the operating costs are the same as presented on the previous slide. And we're also showing the FY20 trips provided and the FY21 trips provided. And again, all of this information was obtained from the National Transit Database. The cost per trip was calculated the same way, but here we're showing the cost per trip for 2 different years. The FY20 cost per trip is operating cost, presented here, divided by FY20 trips. And the FY21 cost per trip is the same operating cost base, now divided by the FY21 trips. And you can see there was a significant decline in trips between the 2 years. The result is a significant increase in the cost per trip. The transit agencies being analyzed saw reductions in ridership ranging from approximately 51% to 73%. And I did want to note that the agencies that we looked at, all of them except for SAC-RT and FY21, did utilize purchased transportation, which means that they were outsourced to another agency to actually perform the operations. Our analysis, we understand that these are estimates, and we did our best to determine an appropriate assumption to escalate costs and to base our costs on and to base our analysis on. But we're unable to capture any cost-saving measures that these agencies may have taken into practice over the last year due to the reduction in ridership for COVID. However, to remain eligible for stimulus funding, agencies could not lay off or furlough employees. And typically labor and benefits is the largest cost for operating a transit agency. So we feel fairly comfortable that these costs are reasonable and accurately represent what happened to the cost per trip for agencies across the board. I would also like to note that it's not presented here, but I did do the same analysis of trips for FY20 and 21 divided by the FY20 operating costs straight from NTD, and it was the same result, a significant increase in the cost per trip from one year to the next. Next slide, please. Finally, just in conclusion, this analysis performed supports that the FY20 cost per trip increase is a direct relation to the reduction in ridership. SAC-RT did perform really well in comparison to the peer agencies, but again, it's ridership based. We did see a significant decline in ridership, but some agencies saw an even larger decline in ridership, which drove their costs up even higher. And I think finally, it's important to note for transit that we have costs that are not ridership driven or not ridership dependent. For example, for the SAC-RT Go service specifically, we are open 7 days a week for reservations, and that's from 8 to 5. So we must staff that entire time period 7 days a week. Same for dispatch. We have dispatchers in 7 days a week covering all of our service hours, going from basically 3 o'clock in the morning till 1:30 in the morning the following day. So we have, you have your hard costs to just cover those time frames. Also, our maintenance crews and our mechanics are 7 days a week, almost 24/7, maintaining the vehicles, doing, oil changes and tune-ups to just cleaning, obviously for COVID and refueling and making sure that the vehicle's stocked and, ready for service. Also, operations, and then we have contractual costs, such as our scheduling software, that we incur the costs whether or not we're providing service or not, and other overhead costs, right, for allocation to that program, including, payroll and finance and risk and legal services and IT and all the support that's, provided to that service line. So I think as ridership continues to rebound, we'll see reductions in that cost per trip for the SAC-RT Go service, and we'll start to get back to what we consider, kind of the norm for a cost per trip for ADA paratransit service. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from board members? Not seeing any hands up. Thank you, Jamie, for the detailed presentation. That really helped. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Henry, is that it?
Yes, that's it.
All right, then we'll move on to the next item, please.
Yeah, do you want to take public comment? Jeffrey Tardigia did have his hand up, but it looks like he did
Well,
put it down.
It really wasn't a policy discussion, more of a report, so I typically didn't take public comments, but if Jeffrey wants to keep it quick, we'll take a public comment.
Looks like he put his hand down.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Next item, please.
Okay, so the next item is number 9, reports, ideas, and questions from directors, if any.
Any hands up? Not seeing any. I would like to ask Linda Budge to say a few words about the current events in our world before we adjourn.
Thank you, Steve. I told the chair that I thought it was appropriate that we adjourn tonight with sympathy and best wishes for all of our neighbors who have come to live with us from former Soviet Union countries, and an earnest hope, a sincere hope that the world gets back to a point where we respect each other's cultures in the near future. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Director Budge. And with that, we're adjourned.